Welcome to Truckers Voices Podcast. Your host, Tim Taylor, and co-host, Steve Brand. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
This is Danny Smith. Just calling to tell you how much I appreciate listening to your show, Truckers Voices. It's very informative. I really like hearing the driver stories, how they got into the trucking industry and maybe what kind of trucks they started out with. And it's just been a lot of fun. And I would encourage any drivers out there to tune in and listen, call in, be a part of it. It's a great show. Thanks.
Hi, this is Scott Post, and I love Truckers' Voices because there's always something entertaining and educational for our industry. And it's also hosted by two of my good friends, Tim Taylor and Steve Brand. Tune in tonight. And in the meantime, be safe out there.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? My name's Charlie Demchuk, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's big show. Y'all sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Tim and Steve got a good one in store for you. So have a good night. We'll see ya.
Well, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a good day of trucking today. I hope that everything you did was safe and blessed. It's good to be back on Truckers Voices tonight with you. We have a special guest coming on with us in a little bit. His name's Clarence Jenkins. He is a retired truck driver now, but he had a long, good career in the trucking industry. And we're going to talk to him about how he got into trucking, his career in trucking, and how his retired life from trucking is right now. So anyway, I'm glad to be back, and I'm going to bring Steve in here and let him introduce himself and get reacquainted with the audience. But we appreciate y'all tuning in on Truckers Voices. Now, y'all remember that you can call in and join us here on the podcast at 251-616-2151. And you can ask any questions that you want. We may not answer them all, but we'll try to. All righty. Without further ado there, Steve Brand, what's going on, brother?
How you doing, Tim? How's everybody doing out there tonight, man? It's been a chilly week up here, but it's been a good week.
Oh yeah, Steve. I tell you what, it was chilly down here in South Georgia land, and I'll tell you what. Whenever I post my morning videos out there, sometimes, and I'll say something about a crisp, cool South Georgia morning, I always get a little blowback from my neighbors up north there, and they kind of laugh at me a little bit, especially one with the initials WC. That lives in Louisville.
Yeah. It's like yesterday morning. I think it was 23 degrees with the wind chill. It felt like it was 11 degrees. Oh yeah. I was moving as quick as my bones would let me move because I wanted to get back in that warm truck. It was definitely a crisp one, but hey, we made it. The heater worked good. It's all good. The roads was dry. Well, we got a little snow up by south of Akron a little bit, but it wasn't bad. Everybody minded their P's and Q's. Everything was good. So, man, it's wintertime. Hey, we can handle it.
That's good. What are you seeing with the freight levels right now? I mean, we're kind of seeing like a roller coaster going on. I mean, one day we might have pretty busy, but next day, we don't have enough freight, and we got some people that's been sitting at home. How's it looking up there in Dayton?
It's the same way. It's a roller coaster. Monday was kind of slim. Tuesday, man, they was just slammed. I mean, I don't know if it was the end of the month. I don't know what was going on, but he said he was using everybody he could use and then some. And Wednesday, about the same. Today, Kind of so. It fell off a little bit, but yeah, it's a roller coaster, man. It's up, it's down. I'm hauling 20,000-25,000, and the next day I'm at 30,000-35,000. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy, And I know there's some companies that are talking about layoffs, and there are some layoffs that are in effect, and then there's some company that's doing furloughs. So we got some furloughs going on at my barn, but nothing to deal with any of the drivers. But I don't know. I can't figure it out. It's up and down. But anyway, Steve, I think we got a guest waiting out in our virtual green room. We probably need to bring in here, and we can talk to him about all this real quick. So, anyway, without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Clarence Jenkins. Mr. Clarence, it's good to have you on Truckers Voices podcast tonight. We do appreciate you coming on and talking with us. So, how's things been going up there in West Virginia, right?
Yeah, up here in West Virginia, it's going good up here. It's getting a little cold, just like Steve said. It's getting cold, and the snow's starting to fly a little bit, but we're making it.
Oh, yeah. So, I really don't have anything to really complain about down here with this South Georgia 39, 40-degree weather, do I?
No, not too bad. My wife, she'd love to be down there where it's at.
That's why everybody tries to come on through here and move on down to Florida, I guess, whenever they retire, So anyway, but it's good to have you on the program tonight. What's been going on these days? How's retirement life treating you?
Retirement life's good. Just staying busy a little bit. When I first retired, we planned on traveling a little bit, but of course, what happened in 19 when I retired, COVID hit. So the whole world was shut down, so we didn't get to do much traveling, but we're doing pretty good.
That's good. That's good. Well, anyway, we brought you on here for one specific reason, and we wanted to find out what your story is and how you got into trucking. So I'm going to give you the floor, and I want to hear from the age that you started trucking till the age that you retired from trucking. I just want to hear all about it. So I'm going to sit back and listen.
Well, I don't have a big story. I'm not a second generation or a third generation trucker. I'm just one in my family that just started out trucking, and really, I guess I was in the right place at the right time. In my senior year of high school, which 1967 started my senior year of high school, I was in distributive education class, and that's where you go to school for a half a day, and then they put you to work for half a day. Well, they put me to work in one of my local drugstore chain warehouses across just probably a couple blocks from the high school. And they put me on the docks there, and I started working unloading trucks about 4 hours a day. And that worked out great, and I enjoyed that. I was young and a little bit of money in my pocket, worked good. So I worked there till graduated in 68, and then they put me on full time. So I started working the docks, unloading the trucks. And the boss came to me in about, I guess it was in the first part of 69, and he said, we had 3 trucks. They had, 2 that did deliveries all over the state. They had 43 stores we delivered to all over the state of West Virginia. They had 3 trucks, and he come and asked me to drive one of them, and I said, well, I've never drove one of those things before. I don't know what they are. And he said, well, you can do better than the guy that's driving it. Said he's already had 2 or 3 speeding tickets. The insurance company's threatened to drop them, and so we want you to try it. So I jumped in that old truck. And it was a straight truck, gasoline job, an old Dodge Cab, and had about a 22-foot bed on it. And they'd load that thing up till the front wheels wouldn't even touch the ground when we took off. And took off across through the mountains of West Virginia. And if you've ever been across the mountains of West Virginia, they're pretty tough. We didn't have any interstates back then to mount anything. And well, I survived that trip. And I guess you could say the rest is kind of history from there. And drove for them till they closed. Well, they sold out to another drugstore chain, and they moved everything up into Pennsylvania and closed us out in 1971, 72, I think it was. Then I went to work for an outfit that we drove trucks, and I kind of got to driving tractor trailers for them in the yards and stuff, and doing different things and going from place to place, and even got to operate some heavy equipment for them, cherry picker and backhoes and stuff, and did a lot of that. And of course, that kind of, I had two young kids then. I got married, had two young kids, and in 1973, well, that's when I went to work there. When I got to figure later on that I needed a little bit more money. I got a daughter that's 2 years old, one 4 years old, and it's time to start making a little bit more money. We didn't make a lot of money back then. So I looked around for driving jobs with every company in that part of the state. They said, of course, you got to have this 2 years experience. Well, where are you going to get all that experience if nobody will hire you? So got the idea of going to truck driving school for a little while because they promised job placement assistance. Well, that was, I took the schooling and worked all week and then went to their school on the weekend for, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, I guess it was. And, well, when I graduated there, they gave me my job placement assistance. It was a copy of trucking companies in a telephone book. And they said, here, all these places doing business up there. So that was my job placement assistance. So, well, anyway, I went around and my wife, she had a girlfriend that her dad drove for one of the major trucking companies around here. And he told me that a place down in Nitro, West Virginia, which wasn't far from my house, that they were hiring. It was Overnight Transportation Company, if I can mention that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did an interview put my application in an interview. Within 4 days, they hired me. So started out working on the dock just for a little bit, and then they put me to driving in the city. I worked in the city for 2.5 years, and then I think it was in 1979 I went over the road, and the rest of my career up until I retired in 2019, I started out. So you can say I started out working in the trucking industry at 18, and actually retired. I was 69 years old.
Wow, that was a long, prosperous career.
Well, I'm proud of it too, and pretty proud of mainly because it was all safe driving, and that's the part I pick. I had almost 6 million miles. I never had a preventable accident out with 6 million miles, and that's something I was pretty proud of right there. That you don't like to brag on yourself, but that's one record I'm proud of.
Yes.
Hey, if you don't brag on it, I'm going to brag on it. So we always talk to Danny Smith. He calls in quite a bit, and Danny's getting ready to retire. And after the first of the year, and I always highlight Danny's. He's never had an accident, but Mr. Jenkins, let me applaud you on that, because that is a milestone in itself, that over the years that you traveled these highways, that you never had a preventable accident. That is absolutely awesome. Going back to your story, when you started out in the trucking industry, and the truck that you drove was a gasoline engine truck there, how was that? What kind of truck was that? And tell me how that was. Just kind of give me a little idea about that truck.
Well, it was a Dodge cab over. It was I'm not sure the model year that one was, because like I said, they already had it when I started driving it. But it was a gasoline engine. I think it had a 318 Dodge engine in it, and it didn't have a lot of power, but you didn't need a lot of power around just to pull the mountains around here. It didn't have much speed, but you didn't need the speed either. So
Right.
I think then the speed limit was only 55. Of course, in West Virginia, back then on them country roads, you didn't want to do much more than that anyway. So, but then they bought one right after that. They bought me a new one. It was the Dodge. I don't know if you ever seen the ones with the swing out fenders on them or not, but the fenders swung out on them. Looked like an airplane when you swung the fenders out in order to check the oil and check under the hood and stuff. That was how you checked everything under the hood. So, but just that was just the type of truck it was. It had a 52-foot bed on it, and like I said, we'd load that thing down. I mean, the wheels were off the ground. You'd be glad to get your first stop off so you could feel the steering on the pavement.
Well, some of those West Virginia hills and curves and all. I was riding in a pickup truck with a buddy of yours when we was over there doing some of the schools, and all I heard on that pickup truck when we was going around those curves was a little bit of So I'm glad he was driving. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah. That's just like us. When you get used to driving these roads, it's second nature to you. So that's all we know. So. that's the way it was. It was rough, but we didn't know any better. That's all we had.
That's all you had. That's right. So speaking about working on the dock when you was 18, tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about that back then and how it's changed to now.
Well, everything back then was hand unloaded. There wasn't anything on pilots. There wasn't any tow motors much to mount anything that we had. I know the warehouse I was in, we didn't have any. We always hand loaded everything on the buggies, and then we kept our stuff up on the third and fourth floor. So they had an old freight elevator that you had to put all that stuff on and roll it up into the freight elevator, and hope that the elevator made it up to the top and back down safely. So, but it's changed from today. Today, I think most everything's on pilots, and you got you don't fingerprint everything anymore, and to me that's better. I mean, it's less damage and it's a lot easier on the people. I have no problem with that. But it's changed greatly over the years. So.
Yeah. Let me explain to the listening audience, in case they're not in the trucking industry, that fingerprinting is when you touch every piece of freight on that truck. It could be anything from tires that's laced in the truck to boxes that's on the floor. And it could be thousands of boxes, and you have to touch every one of them. So when he says fingerprinting, that's what he's referring to there. Tell me about a Johnson bar. You ever used a Johnson bar?
Yeah, we had Johnson bars in the terminals over there. I think they probably still got one over there, but we used that to move our heavy stuff around. Like I said, we didn't have tow motors and stuff. You moved heavy stuff around the best way you could, and that's why we had carpet poles that we called them. When we did have tow motors, they put the pole on the blade for the blade where the blades are, and you stuck it through a roll of carpet, and you moved it all over the place. So there were many different ways of doing things, but it, like I said, they got the job done. That was the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think Steve. I think Steve might have some questions there, Steve. So I know I kind of asked quite a few there, but I'm going to back off the mic, Steve, and let you have a shot at Mr. Jenkins there.
I guess the big question is, you was out here, 51 years? So
right at 50, yeah.
Over the period of time, you've seen equipment grow, you've seen it getting larger, faster, and then the safety stuff come into play and everything. How neat is that?
Oh, it's really neat. I mean, like I said, I started out with the old gasoline engine, and of course, when I moved up to driving the tractor trailers, we didn't have power steering, we didn't have air conditioning, we didn't have a whole lot of power in the motors. I mean, it got the job done, but the things have changed now. I mean, shoot, you got power steering. I remember my first power steering truck back in the mid '90s. Well, that was just that was awesome. I thought. I mean, I didn't know what I had till I got it, but you don't really realize. I mean, you have the manual steering trucks. They're just they're the thing. You can put them anywhere you want them. I know I drove my first power steering truck around for probably a year, then it broke down, and they stuck me back in one of the manual steering. Well, I couldn't even get the thing under the trailer. Couldn't turn the steering wheel. You don't realize how soft you really get. So, but it's changed a lot. The technology's a lot different than it was today. I mean, no comparison really. I mean, I'm glad things move ahead. I'm glad to see things change and get better for everybody. I have no problem with that at all.
That's true. I started in 1989, and things have changed just so drastically and so much. And like you said, if you get in a truck that don't have the technology that you have in your truck, you got to go backwards. You almost got to retrain yourself. But how was the West Virginia Turnpike when you first started? Was it under construction constantly like it is now? Was it, kind of explain that? I mean, that's kind of the main thoroughfare through West Virginia.
It was. The turnpike for the most part was 2-lane. The only place it was 3-lane was on the hard pulls up the hills. They did have passing lanes on the hills, but for the most part it was all 2-lane. And yes, I remember when they started the construction to make it interstate standards. And the old tunnel we used to go through. If you climb the first hill after you go through the toll booth, now going south, the first big hill you climb, if you look over to your right, that's the old tunnel right there.
Right.
Yeah, and well, when they went to 102-inch trailers, my goodness, you meet inside that tunnel, you just held your breath and hope your mirrors didn't hit. Or you, it was it was a long. It was only like maybe a half a mile through there, but my goodness, it was a long half a mile sometimes. And you look
Right.
up the roof and you think, well, my trailer's not going to clear that roof up there because it was pretty low. But so yeah, the turnpike it's changed a lot. It's been under construction for a long, long time, but compared to what it was when I started driving, there is no comparison now. And like you pay tolls now, back then you paid a toll. They had on when you got on, you got a toll ticket. When you got off, at the other end, the 88-mile section, you got a toll ticket. But every exit you got off of also had a toll booth too. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I want to tackle a comment from Travis Gibson right here. I know y'all can't see it on the screen, but I seen it on my phone pop up there. He says, "What was Mr. Jenkins' favorite truck he drove over his time over the road?"
Probably that big old ATA image truck.
That's a nice one, ain't it?
I can agree with that.
Yeah, but probably the Volvos, if I can say. I mean, I guess I'm all right to say brands, but the Volvos were probably the most comfortable trucks I ever drove. But like as you said, as you start out, the first one I guess there ever was my favorite to start out with, and then of course what I ended up with was I liked them all one way or another. I mean, I didn't have any problem with any of them really. So.
Yeah. There's another comment to come up here. I'm trying to figure out who it is, but it's Scott Post. Scott Post says you got a lot of muscle backing up with no power steering. You learn very fast not to oversteer. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, I don't know about the muscle. I still don't have much of that, but like I said, it's all we had then. And I mean, when you start out with non-power truck, if you never had it, you don't know what it is. So it's just common nature. I could put a non-power steering truck in anywhere I could put a power steering truck now. But I know one time in the national competition when we used to have personal interviews, the interviewer asked me. He said, "What do you miss most about trucking?" Or what would you like to have? I said, "Well, I guess power steering would be okay, and air conditioning, but." I don't have it, and it's their truck. So, but he said, "Well, how come your company's so cheap that they won't put that stuff in there?" I said, "Well, it's their truck. I mean, I know what it is. If I've never had it, I really don't know what I'm missing. So, but it would be nice to have. I guess it sounds good. So, I guess it worked all right. It gave me a good score. So,
yeah. Well, Mr. Randy Thomas says, "True professional, good man," right there. So, did you know Mr. Randy Thomas?
Oh yes, I know Randy and Mr. Travis.
Yep. Well, speaking of the competitions and stuff like that, the National Truck Driving Championships. Tell us a little bit about over the years how you got into that, and just tell us a little bit about your success with that.
Well, I got into it because our company, we had company competitions up here in West Virginia. We did West Virginia, Kentucky, and some Ohio competitions. They do it at our terminal over here, but you had to win the company competition in order to be able to go to the state. So I do it in 1978, and I guess I got lucky and won the company competition over here in the 4-axle class, and then I got to go to my state the first time. Well, those old hands had been going there for years and years. They put this rookie to shame, and I mean, I guess it wasn't too bad. I wound up 4th place, but I kind of got the fire in me, and then, of course, the company didn't sponsor a couple of years there. Things got tight, in 1980 and 81, things got really tight. And they didn't sponsor a couple of years. And then we came back in 83 was our first year back, and there was 5 of us won the state over here. That was my first ever win in the state was 1983. And got to go to the Nationals, and boy, if you ever go to the Nationals one time, you're hooked.
Yeah.
You always go back, and I got fortunate enough through the years, and wound up getting to go to the Nationals 18 times.
Wow.
And so had a first and a second in the Nationals. So that I guess I got pretty lucky, I guess. I never did. People always say you beat somebody. No, you don't beat anybody. You just have better days than they have. And because everybody's the same level as you are. They all took a year's accident-free driving to get there. and they all safe, and that's the main object. That's what it's called. It's safety. Safety. Super Bowl safety, and so you never beat anybody. You just have better days than they do, and that's what it all amounts to.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I always look at it like I'm not competing against these other guys out here. They're just as professional as I am. I'm competing against every obstacle on that course is what I'm competing against.
Yeah, you're competing against the obstacles, and you're competing against yourself. And what better safety program can these companies have? Because you have to have a year of safe driving to get it. I mean, even if you have something that's not your fault, you can't get there. And to me, that's one of the best safety programs out there. So.
Right. Steve, you pop over there on Safety Drive for a Cure and look at those comments. I want to see who this comment is right here, if you don't mind. This one right here, I'm not sure who this one is. It says, "Thank you, Clarence, for paving the way for all of us today. Always a pleasure to talk and listen to you, my friend. True professional for sure." So, and I'll just wait for Steve to find that one out. But, Mr. Clarence, speaking to that comment right there on the screen, I can agree with that. The time that I got to work with you and meet you, I learned so much from you. And some of the things that I learned from you, I'm still putting into practice today as far as going to the school and sharing the road, sharing the Share the Road program with the young students there. You and, I'm having a mental block right now. Papa, I call him Papa. You and Papa, y'all show me a lot that I'm still using this day, and I do appreciate it. And so speaking of Share the Road, tell us how you got how you got into some of the schools there in Virginia and West Virginia. Tell me how you got into that.
Well, I've been doing schools a long time before I got on the road team and started doing the shared road programs, because the companies let me do schools through the truck association and different things. So I was familiar with doing schools around West Virginia, and then of course when you get on a road team, you do a lot of schools. And then I met David through the championships and stuff, and me and David become really, really good friends. Papa, as you call him, we become really, really good friends, and so he started setting up schools in Virginia and stuff, and we had teachers calling us over, and then West Virginia got involved, and man, we wound up 3-4 week tours doing that. I mean, we was doing sometimes 7 and 8 schools a week for 3 and 4 weeks at a time, and we called it the old geezer tour when we went out. So that's what y'all was always on, the old geezer tour. But we just got to enjoying it, and the teachers, they kept asking for us back, and we just got really more than we could handle, and we could do that today, but we just can't handle it. You only have so much time, but just doing the Share the Road is it's so rewarding, going to schools, and when you leave there, you really think you've made a difference. And when you go back the next year or a couple of years later, and we've had students do this, come up to us and say, "You remember me?" And of course, you see so many faces, you remember a face maybe, but names, no, they don't come to you. But when they tell you that, hey, that they're using what they was in our class, and they're using this stuff every day, and that's what makes it, really worthwhile. And we had a deal one time where we had a handicapped child that come out to the truck, and they wanted up in the truck, and the teacher asked us if we could get him up in the truck. Of course, me and Papa, we said we're going to get him in that truck one way or another, and so we got there and tugged and pulled and got him up in the truck, and that little boy was so happy. I mean, you could see it in his eyes, and just it just puts a thrill in your body, and then his mother come to pick him up, and she seen him up in the truck, and she started crying, and stuff like that. It just puts chills in you, and just it makes you feel good. And come to find out, his papa had been a truck driver before he passed away, and that was a joy to him. His papa used to ride him around a little bit, and that was a joy to him. And then when we went back there the next year, the teacher said, "You remember?" I don't remember the boy's name. Said, "But you remember him? And you put him up in the truck?" And we said, "Yes, we sure do." And what a joy that was. And she said, "Well, he made it to graduation, and he passed away this year." And so we just look back at that, and things like that make it all worthwhile. And, just that's memories that there's nothing you can do to replace that. it's the joy of doing the program. That's why we keep going back and doing it. And even since I've retired, I'm still doing a few schools here and there, and
Right.
going to some of the old schools we went to, and it's just that's what it's all about. I mean, and people say, well, what kind of awards or rewards do you get for doing that? Well, it's not the award and the reward. It's the greatest feeling you ever get right here in your heart that you may have saved someone's life. That's the greatest part of it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, with that said, I do want to share my screen with you, and I'm going to show a video and just kind of highlights you in this video. So let me share this with you, and we'll just go from here.
Monday.com makes scans great again. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to say again because they never were, and they're
Teamwork, discipline, dedication. Much like your favorite team, which has to develop the right strategy, call the right plays, and communicate with each other. That is what our team does every day to keep America's roads safe.
Share the Road is a program put on by the ATA to go around and
Here's something you just don't see every day. Tractor trailer backing into the Civic Center. It's part of the Share the Road campaign. The program is designed to teach drivers about the importance of safe driving, especially when semis are on the road. The big rig, they say, shows just how hard it is for those drivers to see when they're out on the road.
When you get them up in a seat and they go, wow, then you know you've got them. You've got them paying attention and they're listening. And when they're listening and paying attention, then they're a bit safer around us on the highway.
You can visit the big rig, take a look at it, take some pictures maybe at the International Auto Show taking over the Civic Center this week. It starts Friday. As always, everything from concept cars, luxury rides to sedans.
All right. Well, that one right there, let me get that screen sharing off there. But, you know, how many times have you been featured on, you know, some of these TV, not TV, but newscasts and all, just for the Share the Road there in Virginia?
Oh, God, I wouldn't have a clue. Probably 5 or 6 times, probably.
Yeah. Now, how is that whenever you, when you're on there? Are you one that's camera shy, or you rather be the guy behind the camera?
I'd rather be behind the camera, but you do what you do. As long as we get the point across, that's the main thing. And then if that's the way we got to get our safety message out there, then
That's right. That's the main thing. Steve, go ahead. I'm gonna queue up something else here.
Okay. I was just going to cue on to what you were saying, Mr. Clarence. I remember the first chance I got to do the Old Geezers tour. We started out Monday morning on that very first school, and we kind of got to the part we had all the class there, and we was telling why we got into this. And you know, my heart is in trucking and in safety and all this. And I just dropped my daughter off at I just watched her graduate basic training and dropped her off. And I was really emotional because, you know, you're looking at all these young kids that are driving age and you want them to be safe. You know, as my motto is, the most important trip of the day is a trip home. And I remember I started to break down and you come over to me and said, don't ever worry about that, because that shows your passion. That shows, you know, and that really sinks in, and having a couple of those kids come up to me and say, you know, you're so passionate about this, that, you know, speaks volumes with me. And I'm like, wow, you know. But like you said, just to touch on that, to go out and be able to talk to people about the industry, about sharing the road, about safety, oh, it just warms your heart. You know, I agree with you. I don't need a trophy. I don't need a reward or anything. My reward is to see see it in their eyes. They're getting it. They understand what we're teaching them, you know. So
I remember that day well that you come there, and I remember that well. And I know they let you off, I believe, it down Westville. Wife and them went on home.
Right.
But yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, you get to these kids at this age, and they go home and they tell their parents, and then if they get their parents in a spot like that, and we try to stress to them today about the distracted driving. That's really that's sad. Distracted driving, cell phones and things have become more dangerous out there than drunk driving, and that's terrible within itself. But when you talk about a cell phone out there, people texting while driving, it's worse than drunk driving. I mean, what a sad world it is now. And then these electronics they're great, but they're also dangerous too. So.
Yes.
Well, I got this other one queued up. Let's play this one last one right here. So let me get it queued up here for us and go.
The thing that's different about a Verbo vacation home, you always have the whole place to yourself.
Okay, and we teach the public on how to today, and we teach the public on how to share the road with large trucks. The message of sharing the road is very important because at the end of the day, everybody needs to share the road. At a share the road demonstration, we will teach all 4 blind spots of the truck. We will teach the blind spot in front, the largest blind spot that trucks have on the passenger side, the one behind us, remind following distance, and also the blind spot on the driver's side.
We teach them to not follow so close because, we're a large truck and we can go over debris, and sometimes that shoots out the back of the truck. And if they don't see that, it's going to cause an accident.
It's very important for the trucking industry to have a good working relationship with law enforcement because we're on the same page. We're on the same team. Our primary objective is to make sure our roadways are safe, and it's good that we can work together to do that.
And to be able to pass that on to the next generation is ever so important because now more than ever, the roads of the nation's highways are busy, and we have to make sure we can educate and promote our industry and safety.
At the Texas Goldwing Rally, the Share the Road truck and the Share the Road program educated motorists on the blind spots of the truck and how to share the road with large trucks. It is important for motorcyclists to know the Share the Road program so that they understand the blind spots of the trucks and what we see as professional drivers behind the wheel.
The exposure on the trip from Cleveland to Montana, you'd have kids come up and they'd give you the truck, honk the horn, but they seen the message on the side of the trailer. Without me being able to engage with that child, they already were educated on what the Share the Road program has to offer, what the truck's blind spots are.
I have seen a lot of people impacted by the demonstration, especially when they get in the driver's seat and they see what we see behind the wheel as professional drivers.
And teaching them, young kids, they're new drivers, on the blind spots. And I've seen it because they're not realizing that the trucks have such big blind spots, and they're going to be our new drivers on the road. So it's very important to educate them on, being on the road with trucks.
Everybody should know about the information Share the Road program because at the end of the day, we're all traveling on our nation's highways.
All righty, let me get this screen share off of here right now. But Mr. Jenkins, I will attribute, a lot of that, those guys right there were talking about the Share the Road and what you have taught me over the years, what you taught every guy that's come and lady that's come to do the old geezer tour there. A lot of what they were talking about is from you, and we appreciate that. I mean, you paved the way for us. You taught us how to do it. You taught us a better way to do it. And when we go to these schools and all, when I'm doing these demonstrations, I often think about you and David. I think about y'all a lot because I learned so much from y'all. I was doing Share the Road before I went up there, but man, I found such a better way to do it. And what you guys taught me, I will never quit doing it that way. So I do appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. But, we had a lot of people that taught us, paved the way for us too. But like I said, we took some tools we had and we incorporated them into our way of doing it. And it just seemed to me like it made things better. I know we were doing, you said, make sure it gets to the kids. And that's the important part. I mean, we did a school tour up there our normal 3-week deal that we did. And then a few weeks later, they asked us to go to the Roanoke Civic Center up there because they was busing groups in up there at schools and busing them in up there. And we had stations set up when we was doing our same program, but, like a station. And I remember one of the schools come up, and we'd been to one of those schools previously just a couple of weeks before, and we found the truck. And of course, we always divided up in groups. One group will put some in the truck and the other take them around. And I was taking the group around, and these 2 girls that were in the class 2 or 3 weeks before, they started doing the same program. And I said, well, here, y'all just teach the class then. Y'all do it. So them 2 girls went all the way around the truck, did everything that I had showed them previous weeks before that. They did it perfect. They did it, got to the back of the truck, did it all, set up on the back of the trailer, and actually taught the kids. And it just, right then, those kids got it. Those girls got it. And to hear them girls telling it to the rest of the kids, they all got it. And that gave us so much joy to see stuff like that, because we know we had probably made a difference right there and maybe done something that prevent those kids from having an accident. And that's the main thing.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Well, hey, before I forget right here, one of the greatest men I've ever known, me and my boys couldn't be much prouder of him. And that's your wife there, I do believe, that had made that comment earlier.
Probably my daughter, sounds like. So.
Okay. They didn't give their name in permission. I can only go back and look on the on my phone, but got a couple other comments right here that says, known Clarence for years, outstanding person. And that right there is from Michael Wayne Smith.
Yeah, so. Michael's a great guy. Michael's a great guy. I've known him for many, many years. But I'll tell you a little story that back when I first started trucking, back when I said I was working for the outfit fresh out of high school and started driving, we had 3 warehouses we loaded out of. And of course, we had the toy warehouse, which is mostly where I was. And then when I started driving, I had to go to all 3 of them and load. And one of them was a number 2 warehouse, and that was where they had all the dry goods and all that. Most of all women worked in there. And of course, they go in there, and there was this young girl in there kind of caught my eye, but I was a shy old country boy, and I didn't have the nerve really to say too much. Well, them women knew I was kind of, and I guess she kind of liked me a little bit. And I went up in the truck. She brought a load of stuff up in there to me to load one day, and down the door went on that truck. Them women had closed me and her in there. They said, "You ain't getting out till you ask her out." I wanted out of that truck in a hurry. So I asked her out, and we went out, and a couple of years, here almost 52 years we've been married now. So
congratulations.
So you say the old saying that they used to have a trucking industry, good stuff, trucks bring it. Well,
that's right.
It brung it to me. That's a true thing. And now I've got her for almost 52 years. I got 2 daughters, 4 grandsons, and then four other grandchildren that are not my biological grandchildren, but they call us Mama and Papa to me. They're our grandchildren. So.
Right. Absolutely. Now, do you have any of your children or anybody else in the trucking industry that's coming up after you?
No, nobody's in the trucking industry now. One of my daughters, she had married a truck driver. Matter of fact, same company you're with, Tim. But that's as far as any of the boys been in the trucking industry. No, none of them. I've got one that works I guess he works at a distributor where they unload trucks and stuff. But none of them took much interest in driving though.
Okay,
that's their choice, whatever they want to do. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve. I know you got a question.
I'm just going to kind of go off a little bit here, but I just want to kind of tell everybody, what the trucking industry does besides just move freight across the country. I know Clarence from the Make-A-Wish Foundation that we go down and have a little competition to raise money, and I haven't got over to it yet, but Clarence, you're involved in the Lupus Foundation over around Clarksburg. You guys do a little trucking competition. Truck drivers from all over come, and we raise money for these charities and stuff, kind of like Herschel does down for Safety Drive for a Cure. And I just kind of want you to touch base on that a little bit on those two that you're involved in. I'm sure you're involved in much more, but I know you definitely from the Make-A-Wish. And if you could just kind of touch base from your perspective on that, that's part of the industry a lot of people don't know about us.
Well, like I said, truckers probably they don't get enough credit for the work they do. And as far as, as a charity work and everything, it's not just driving a truck, going from town to town. They do a lot in their communities. And just like our Make-A-Wish, we started that 22 years ago. And, I've been in it since day one, and what we do is we have a truck driving competition, just sort of like the nationals, but everybody pays money. They pay $50 to enter, but all that money that we make through the day from the sales we have and the different raffles we have and different things, all that money goes to Make-A-Wish Foundation, and it's for someone that has a life-threatening illness, and this might be the last wish they ever have, might be the last thing they ever do, and we take great pride in that. And I know just to Make-A-Wish, years that we've had it, we've put over $350,000 to Make-A-Wish.
That is awesome.
And then of course you mentioned the lupus deal. Got involved in that because one of our drivers from a different company in the state here, his father got lupus, and they think it's a women's disease, but no, it's a men's disease too. And he got lupus and had to retire from his job, a young man, and we just got involved in that, started raising money for lupus. Now, since COVID, we haven't done it, but I'm sure we'll get back to doing it again. But it's just things that we do as drivers. I mean, everybody takes pride in their community and doing different things for different organizations. You can name them all across the country. I mean, the Safety Drive for a Cure, we do the Make-A-Wish, the lupus. I mean, you have the truckers convoys. I mean, all that is raising money, and that's truck drivers doing that. That's what people don't. I think the drivers all across the country don't get enough credit for that.
That's why I brought it up, because that's when I tell people I go to these charity events. I explain the competition part of it, and it's all for raising money. I've had a few people, well, here's a few bucks, put this towards it, and I didn't know nothing about that, and it's like that's a part of our industry that we as drivers, we get together and we do this. We have a good time. We make a little competition out of it. We have a lot of fun, and just the few years that I've been doing it, gentlemen such as yourself, I've watched you drive. I've asked you questions. I've learned a few things, and I mean, it's a great time, and I appreciate you touching base on that, and I appreciate what you do for it. I really do.
Well, we all learn from each other. That's what it's all about, and we learn every day. We don't learn something new every day. I say look out, because all the years I was out there, I still learned something. You always look around and watch, like you said, someone do something better. It makes it easier on you. I mean, hey, let's do it. I mean, I'm not afraid. I'm one not afraid to take advice. I mean, if you've got something I can make better, be more safer, I'm all for it. So.
Oh, I totally agree. Totally agree. But my dad always told me, he said, if you ever think you know it all, hang your boots up, son. Take that belt off, hang that belt buckle up, walk away. Because he said, you never know it all.
That's it. The day you quit learning, look out.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to get to a couple more comments right here. I don't want to fail to do it. Todd Stein here says he wants to take part in Mother's Day Make-A-Wish convoy in Lancaster, PA. So anybody that gets involved in it, whether it's Make-A-Wish or Safety Drive for a Cure with the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation or any of that, I just have to applaud anybody that kind of takes their time out. And, it is a competition, but at the end of the day, we don't care about the trophies. We care about helping the kids that need the help there and the families.
Yeah, that's it. If you don't do things out for recognition, you do it because it's gratification. You do it. You don't need recognition for what you do. It's just to see that you might have helped someone, and that's what it's all about. And I only mentioned a few of the charities across the country that drivers do. I mean, they're everywhere. They do. You can go to any state, and there's something out there that a truck driver is doing for charity, and that's something that's just not publicized enough. I know we don't want publicity, but some of these guys need recognized for what they do. So
exactly.
I said guys, there's a lot of women involved in it too. I mean, there's just it's just amazing what they do out there.
Yep, you're right. This comment right here comes in from Rondell Woody. He says Clarence is a great man. I've learned a lot from him over the time, just being around him. So now, yeah, so I hear that often there, Clarence. So we do appreciate it, and we know that you. Let's see here. Thought we had a call coming in, but no, that was something else that popped up there. But anyway, we do appreciate what you've done for all of us and how you've helped us out. Let me let's see here. Make sure I didn't miss any of these comments. This is for Steve. Look at 10 speed with the red headphones on there. You know who that's from?
I have no idea. It doesn't tell me.
That would be Miss Lacey Brand.
No, that figures.
So anyway,
it's my daughter.
Yeah, I told her Christmas was coming up and that you needed a new pair, and she said, "Yeah, those are too flashy."
Sorry, it was a last minute thing. I just grabbed them, and here we go. So hey, it works. I don't know. What did I tell you in the beginning, Clarence? We just there's really no script here. It just kind of goes wherever it goes. I have no idea. We're just bunch of truck drivers having fun.
Let me see here. I got another one up here, and I think this one's over on the Safety Drive page. So, Steve, you can go over there and tell me who it is. It says, I enjoy going to events for you guys. And I remember when my brother and I were younger, everyone was so amazing and even allowed us kids to help out with the competition. Very cool experience. Thank you for all that you do. So, Steve's, that comment right there, that's worth it all. I mean, I had a kid come up to me, Clarence, whenever I was at the local high school that I do here. And he come up to me at church. He said, "Hey, Mr. Taylor," he said, "Hey, I got my license now, and everything that you taught me, I remember, and I do." And he said, "I do appreciate you coming to the school there." So that made it worth it for me just to hear from the students.
That's all you got to do is hear that one comment that and you're getting to them then, and that's all about it. And when you go home at the evening and you say, "Well, I think I might have made a difference in that child's life," we tell them, we may never know.
Mm-hmm.
May never see them again. But one thing I don't want to do is go up in that town one day and driving through there and pick up a newspaper and see that one of them didn't make it home, and that would be sad. I mean, like we tell them that it costs a lot of money to bring these programs. These companies give us all that. It's sponsored. It's a sponsorship because they believe in it. They might save a life. And then I ask the kids. I always try to ask them. I say, what do you think life's worth? And you hear so many kids say, "My life's worth nothing," or "My life's worth a nickel or $1 or something." No, your life is priceless.
That's right.
We do this, and when you see the smile come on that child's face, because probably nobody's ever told them something like that before, and you've made a difference in that child's life, and that's what it's all about.
That's right. That's right. Who we got there, Steve?
That come from Lacey, my daughter.
Okay.
And I was just going to comment that, I tried to take my kids, especially when they was younger, and now they've got lives of their own, jobs of their own, and they try to come and to these charity events and even nationals or the state competition, just to see the kids interact, watch. Some of these kids actually know how to do this better than we do. They're just not driving the truck. Why didn't you turn here? Why didn't you turn there? They know how to score it. I mean, and they get the safety aspect of it. I did a couple events over in Pittsburgh, and it was to bring your kid to school or bring your kid to work. And a lady come up to me the next day, and I thought she was mad at me. I mean, she comes storming up to me and pointing that finger. And she said, "I just want to say you made a difference in my son's life." And I said, "Well, I'm glad to hear that." She said, "Because it takes 45 minutes to drive home. And all I heard was, 'Mom, you're in the truck's blind spot. Mom, he can't see you. Mom, speed up. Mom, don't break the law. Mom, he can't see you.'" And she says, "At first I was aggravated, but then I really, it got emotional." She said, "Because you made a difference." And he went home and told his older brothers and older sister, hey, guess what I learned today? And I said, that's it right there. He's going to pass that on. Right. So that's the reward right there when you hear stuff like that.
Exactly. When they come to you and bring it to you, you know you've made a difference in that. That's exactly that's key right there.
Right. Well, real quick, like we're coming up to the end of the show here. Believe it or not, it's 8:55. We've been on here almost an hour, and time flies when we're having fun. But Mr. Jenkins, how is life after trucking? How is retirement treating you? What are you doing? What do you do with your time now?
Well, life's good. You know, like I said, we don't get to travel as much as we should, but it's good. I miss the people, some of the people. And, you know, I won't say everybody.
Hey, I get it. I really do.
But I do miss some of the people, and I miss interacting with a lot of people. I'm still involved in championships and stuff. I still get to work in them and things, and then, like I said, I still get to do schools, and that's what I love doing anyway. So, you know, life's good. I have no complaints, and so far my health's holding up good, and I would probably go back to driving tomorrow for. I think about it time to time, but I get over it pretty quick. So, but, you know, I enjoyed my years doing it, and it was it's been a great career, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. So what would you tell a young man or young woman that was thinking about getting into trucking industry this day and time? What would you tell them?
I do a lot of research, pay attention to the old drivers and stuff, and the people that's got a lot of experience, and it's a good life. It's a hard life. I mean, yeah, it's if you miss a lot of family time, and that's the worst part of it is family time. I mean, when my girls seemed like they were little girls, and then they all of a sudden here they were grown up and had families of their own. So just try to find you a job to where you can be home a little bit more. That's the thing. I realize all trucking jobs, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Just pay attention and do a lot of research. It's a great career, and I think a very rewarding career.
Yeah. Last question, Steve. Go ahead.
I just want to comment. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Clarence. Appreciate everything you did for our industry. You're still doing for our industry. Thank you for your safety, your service. I know I got your number, and I can call you anytime I want to ask a question, and I know you'll be there to answer it. So I just want to say thank you and appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me on, and I've been very much here. I know it took a while to get me here, but I'm here now.
I was saving the date for you there, right?
There you go. And I appreciate it. And everybody out there have a very, very merry, safe, and happy Christmas. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let me say thanks again, Mr. Jenkins. I do appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can have you on again in the future. And I know that everybody out here in the listening audience really enjoyed hearing from you tonight. But a lot of good comments there that come through. So there's a lot of people out here that know you, that like you, and that love you, and we do appreciate you. But thank you again. And with that said, I'm going to say when y'all get out there trucking tomorrow, y'all look out for those who aren't looking out for themselves. Because again tomorrow, I'm going to go trucking. Steve, what's your last words there?
Remember, the most important trip of the day is that trip home. Get home to them families safe and sound. We thank y'all.
Mr. Jenkins, got any last words for our listening audience?
Be safe out there and happy motoring, everyone.
All right. Just hang tight with me just for a minute until we go off the air, and I'll come get with y'all on the other side in just a minute.
I believe in God our Father.